Dua Hotel. We ask for permission from our ancestors to speak today.
Ashe.
We must invoke your consent to even open our mouths.
to your roots.
We are cries from the womb. We come to you with a divine feminine cosmology. Yeah, Mother Earth, Mother Nature.
The queen bee, the great cosmic mother, as above, so below.
Come on.
We overstand and relate to the black woman.
My eye.
For she is the key to our survival.
Come on.
Don't y'all get it? I guess not.
That feminine energy, the first ancient cosmology of the world before it was corrupted. That divine, feminine, primordial concept of the womb. Come on. Dua creator, divine force, supreme energy, and great power. Lead us on this journey called life. Looking forward to the Duat.
Ancestors, be with us at this moment.
Sekhmet.
Guide and protect us, for we are your offspring. We will never forget your sacrifices
Natural.
and continue influencing
Divine principles.
and energy
Return to
in
your
our
roots.
lives.
Hotel. The primeval waters of noon.
Hotep, everyone. Uncle Jasilev. I am your big brother Jahi, and right off the bat, I want to say to all of you, I appreciate you hanging in there with me for the last 2 weeks. I've been really under the weather, some kind of cold, a summer cold. Can you imagine that? Coughing, sneezing, bones aching. But I'm back now, and I'm ready to go. And tonight, I want to first of all just take time out to welcome all of you beautiful people to Adults Only, because you didn't have to watch this broadcast. But I do truly appreciate what you have been doing for me when it comes to Adults Only. Having said that, I want to get into tonight's broadcast. Tonight's broadcast is very interesting. You've heard a lot of people talk about the wealth in the United States. You've heard a lot of people talk about how Black people have a lot of money and how we don't have a lot of money and we need reparations. Well, we're going to talk about the enormous wealth gap between African Americans and European Americans, between descendants of the enslaved and between those Europeans who came over here that now call themselves Americans. And you're going to be surprised. So please hang in there with me. We have some slides to look at, and I don't want you to argue tonight from ignorance, because I'm going to show you without a shadow of a doubt, we are in bad shape. Oh yes, as a people, we are in a terrible condition, and many of us don't see it. Because we keep looking at Steph Curry on commercials. We look at LeBron James. We look at football players. We look at our movie stars. We look at our entertainers, and we see them all the time. And we think that we're doing well as a people. But I'm here to tell you, beautiful people, we are in a bad way when it comes to wealth. And so tonight, let us start off by talking about the difference between wealth and income, because a lot of us don't really realize what's going on when it comes to wealth in America. So hang in there with me tonight, and you're going to be surprised at how little wealth we have as a people. And I'm going to show you tonight, and there would not be any more arguments after this week and next week. So the first thing we want to do is we want to look at the difference between wealth and income. Now, the income is what a person receives on a regular basis. Examples: when you get paid weekly, if you have a job, or bi-weekly, or monthly, or if you own a salary. That's called your income. But I'm not talking about our income tonight. But I wanted to set the record straight and lay that out at the outset, because income is what a person receives on a regular basis. Again, it's your weekly amount you get paid, it's your bi-weekly amount, it's your monthly or your salary amount. What I want to talk about is this one. It's wealth. Now, what is wealth? Wealth is what a person owns. In other words, the examples of wealth is someone's personal property, someone's land, someone's home, someone's monetary savings, someone who has stocks and bonds, someone who has IRAs, someone who has a 401k, and wealth producing assets. That's what your big brother wants to talk about tonight, because I believe that most of us are ignorant. And I don't mean that to put anyone down. I mean that to say we all need to step our game up intellectually when it comes to wealth in America, because we have not been told the truth about wealth in America, because so many of us don't know the difference between income and wealth. I'm not talking about what we make on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. I'm not talking about a job that we have. I'm talking about ownership. I'm talking about businesses. I'm talking about what we own. And this is why tonight is a very serious subject, and I must slow it down because I'm getting excited. And so, brothers and sisters, there's an enormous wealth gap between African Americans and also between European Americans, or those white people that live in the United States, or the black people. When I say black, I'm going to define that a little later on, because I'm not talking about people who come from the Caribbean. I'm not talking about people who moved here from any island or from Africa. I'm talking about the descendants of those who were enslaved. That's what I'm talking about. There's a huge wealth gap. And so, brothers and sisters, I want to start off by talking about African Americans as a group. As a group of people, 46 million, 45 million in the United States, we are extremely poor and suffering from a lack of wealth. Now, don't tell me about your uncle. Don't tell me about your cousin. Don't tell me about a person that you know. I'm talking about as a group of people. For the most part, we are extremely poor. If you don't believe me, call your brother, call your auntie, call your niece, call your nephew, call your grandparent, call your parent, and ask them to loan you $100,000 to start a business. I know you can't do it. I know I can't do it. Why? Because African Americans, as a group of people, we are extremely poor and suffering from a lack of wealth. And I'm going to show you why. I'm going to give you numbers tonight. So sit back, relax, and let's get into what we're going to be dealing with tonight. Because tonight, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you about some numbers. And the numbers that I'm going to give you comes from the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is the central bank of the United States. And they basically record quarterly on how much wealth is in the United States. And there's a great deal of wealth in the United States. But many of us have not looked at numbers. And so we think that we are wealthy as a people because we see athletes on TV. We see black people in commercials. We see people singing. We see people dancing. We see people talking. So we think that we are wealthy as a group of people. And I'm here to dispel that myth. We are extremely poor. And so having said that, the information that I'm going to give tonight, this information comes from the Federal Reserve Board. And this Reserve Board is a part of a group of people who record quarterly how much money is basically in the United States. So right now, what I want to do is I want to share something with you. And this is when it all starts. It starts right here about wealth inequality. See, a lot of you don't even want to look at this. A lot of us don't even want to talk about this. Because if you look at this screen, and you have to see the truth in what I'm saying. Here it is. Beautiful people, it shows that wealth inequality across race. What does the data show? Stay with me. It shows that while white households make up 64% of the population, they held more than 80% of all the wealth measured in assets in the United States. And so what I want you to do is just listen to this. In the third quarter of 2022, the nation's white households had 124.5 trillion in assets as measured by the Federal Reserve. In comparison, black households had under $8 trillion in total assets. Hispanic households had 5.5 trillion, and all other racial groups combined had roughly 15.7 trillion. Now let's go back and let me say that again. In the third quarter of 2022, the nation's white households had 124.5 trillion worth of wealth in assets as measured by the Federal Reserve. In comparison, all black households had under 8 trillion in total assets. Do you see how much of a disgrace that is? Do you see how many people have told you that we as a people have all this wealth and yet we don't? I don't give a damn how many times you see someone on TV. I don't care how many times we see somebody kicking a ball or catching a ball or pushing a ball or throwing a ball. We as a group of people are basically bankrupt. And I'm going to prove that to you. This stat, whether you believe it or not, is true. So you mean to tell me in the United States, big brother, you're saying that the Federal Reserve, those who count the pennies, those who count money, they're saying that there's $124.5 trillion in assets in white households. Please pull up a chair. Please bring your children in on this. And yet we blacks, African Americans, descendants of the enslaved, we only amass under 8 trillion. What a disparity. And you think that we are rich. You think that we have money. You think that as a group of people that we're well off. I'm here to tell you otherwise, beautiful people. And I don't want to burst your bubble. I don't want you getting angry. I don't want you, throwing things at your phone. Don't throw anything at the screens. Sit back and listen. And let's have an intellectual conversation based upon stats, based upon data, based upon facts. Because I'll say this again. If you think that we are rich, I want you right now to go into a room, pick up a phone, and call your uncle and ask your uncle for $50,000 so you can start a business. And I'll be damned if you get it, because you know you don't get it. And it's not our faults. So stay with me. It's not our fault. So lest I sit here and you mistake me, I'm going to tell you later on in the broadcast how all this came about. And most of you know, but because you don't like to listen to intellectual conversations, and because you don't like to look at data, you don't like to listen to stats, you don't like to see what's really going on, you just take it at face value. But I'm showing you, brothers and sisters, and I'm going to show you more. In fact, let me tell you something. I want to show you a stat right now, and let's talk about what the Federal Reserve did find out. You should not want to not look at this broadcast. You should pull up a chair and get as close to your phone or your computer as you can. This is beautiful information because it's going to now show you that as a people, all those liars, all those cheats that said we had a lot of money as a people, we don't. So let's talk about this. Now, I want to show you something now that's going to be very, very important. And I want to slow the train down now because at this point in time, I think I really need to take it easy and show you what I'm actually trying to say. And this is what I'm saying. This was taken from a brother named Tone Talks, Antonio Moore, because he dealt with this as well. And he deals with this. Yvette Carnell deals with this as well. But look at this. In 2021, look at the third data. Q3, the data is out. White American families jumped to $127 trillion in wealth. I'm going to read that again. In 2021, quarter number 3, data is out. White American families jumped to $127 trillion. You see that? Oh, let's talk about that, brothers and sisters. They jumped to $127 trillion in wealth. And this was during COVID. And they grew as much businesses, wealth as, listen, all Black Americans. You have to pull a seat up to this. You have to open your mouth and let it drop down. You have to say, big brother, you are coming hard tonight. No, I'm telling us the truth, because this is why we are so pitiful economically, because of some things that happened to us. And I'm just going to give you numbers first, then I'm going to expose this thing. And if you don't get a chance, or if we don't get a chance to view it all tonight, please tune in next week. But let's keep going. It jumped as much business wealth, listen, as all Black America has combined. Did you hear what I just said? I'm getting excited again because I'm trying to pull the sheets off of these people so you can see what they're really doing. And so this is why I want you to take your time and just relax and watch this. Do you see this information that's before us? It's called the wealth components. Now, I think I want to go back out of this and give you maybe full screen because I want you to see this wealth components. And what you're going to find out here with this wealth components is something very startling. Now, what do you mean by that, Jahi? I mean that if you look at these different wealth components, let me make this a little bigger. And I wanted to go down on this, but right now, I guess I'm going to have to just give you the different areas. You see this here arrow says wealth components. Down here, it shows basically the different components that's been broken into. The first one is real estate. Now, you may not be able to see these numbers clearly, but I'm going to share them with you. It's broken down. Here's white US dollars in trillion, black US dollars in trillions, Hispanic US dollars in trillions, and others US dollars in trillions, Koreans, others that come over here. I'm not going to be too much concerned about these two. I want to be concerned about these two. Why? Because we've been here the longest. Whites and blacks, we've been here the longest. So we should be running neck and neck based upon our being here and based upon our ancestors building this country, working and making sure that this country has become as wealthy as it is. So please stay with me. Now, let's start off by talking about this wealth components. Right here, it shows real estate. Now, if you look at this real estate, it shows, listen, that white households or white people have 27.86 trillion dollars of wealth. Oh, you are in school today. You must learn. We must all learn. And look at what black African Americans, so-called descendants of slaves, look what we have. $2.20 trillion against $27.86 trillion. That's in real estate. That's real estate alone, brothers and sisters. And I have to go down more. This is called consumer durables. This consumer durables basically are products that are not purchased frequently, like cars, washing machines, jewelry, that type of thing. But look at this consumer durables. White US have 5.45 trillion, stay with me, trillion in consumer durables. And look at us. We don't reach a trillion, we reach 49 billion. So you see why I'm always complaining about wealth inequality? And you and I are sitting here and we have no clue of what's really going on. And I'm showing us the data right now. That's just in real estate and consumer durables. Now, I hope this machine acts better for me because I really wanted to take this particular, I'm going to close this out, but I want to go all the way down because we still have corporate equities, pension entitlement, and private businesses. And I don't want to slight you because I want you to hear this because I think you really need to know what is going on. And there's something going on, and that is we are wealthless as a people for the most part. And yet a lot of us think we're doing well because our mindset has been so warped. It's been taken because we watched so much TV and we've seen, brothers and sisters, we've seen so much mess on TV when it comes to our people in movies, playing sports and entertainment, in commercials, doing all these things. And so we think that we're on the same footing. When I just showed you, we are not on the same footing. And this type of conversation, it must be had. Now, this computer is not doing well. It's not doing the way it's supposed to do. So I need to try to pull up this again because I want to go all the way down that list so that we can see how pathetic we are as a people based upon wealth. And that's all I'm talking about is wealth. So let's try to pull this up again. And let's see if I can grab this screen to show you more of what I'm trying to say. So let's see if I can share more because I wanted to share. Oh, there it is. Okay, here we go. Now, listen, we've talked about real estate. In fact, I'm going to tell you something later on in the broadcast that's going to make you want to just pass out. There are about 7 white families that own 98% of rural land. And I'm going to show you that. Okay, now let's jump down to corporate equities and mutual fund shares. Look at this. White people have $35.97 trillion. That's in corporate equities. That's your mutual funds. That's your shares. That's your investments. That's your stocks. That's your bonds. And look at us. Black US, we have 40.45 billion. We can't say trillion because that's not even one. Do you see what your big brother is trying to show you today? I want you to see how messed up it is in this country, and we sitting around here thinking that we have arrived. Look at these numbers. They have stocks, they have bonds, they have shares. And this is a disaster. That's why we don't have much. Look at what they have. Look at this. Let's go more. Pension entitlements. This pension entitlement has to do with a retirement plan, an IRA, individual retirement account, and a 401k. These plans that you get when you work for so many years and the company puts into it. And when you retire, you get this money back. Look at this. White dollars equals, excuse me, $24.44 trillion. And look at ours, 2.92 trillion. And most of this right here is in what is called the baby boomers, which basically were people that were born from 1946 to 1964. And so most of this money that we have, or our wealth, most of our wealth is tied up into pensions and the homes that the older people purchased since 1946 to 1964. So when you take this, or when they die, we are hit, brothers and sisters. We are hit. Let's go some more. Look at this. Private businesses. Now, these businesses are European businesses. Look how much their businesses are bringing in, amassing. $12.68 trillion. And look at ours. 0.31 billion. We don't even make a trillion, you see. And this is why I wanted to bring this to you guys, because this is something that we have to come to grips with. I know you may be angry with me. I know you may be upset. I know you may be befuddled. I know you may be confused, but your big brother is laying this out on the line now. I'm going to show you the whole broadcast. And this is why you need to call someone. This is why you need to pull a chair up as close as you can to get to this thing. This is why you need to sit back and stop talking and thinking about us as a people who are very wealthy. Half of us don't even have $1 in the bank, but it's not our fault. And I'm going to deal with all that later on. But right now, I'm setting the table. And this is why it's important to watch broadcasts like this that's going to tell the truth, see? Because your mama and your daddy and my grandmama, my granddaddy, your cousins, your friends, your nieces, your nephews, your co-workers, they're not going to share this with you. Why? Because they don't know themselves. And this information comes directly, brothers and sisters, from the Federal Reserve. So they're showing us that $127 trillion worth of wealth is in the system of the United States. And we don't even we only have $6 trillion if you really want to be honest about it. And most of that is in pensions and also in homes of the baby boomers, which were born from 1946 to 1964. So we're basically working, all the rest of us, we're working off of about $2 trillion or $2 trillion worth of wealth. And that is a disgrace. And that's why we are in the position that we're in, because we don't have that much wealth. I don't care if one of you people in your family went to college and got a nice house. I don't care if some of my friends have a nice car. I don't care if you know a doctor. I don't care if you know a lawyer. I'm telling you that most of us are broke, brothers and sisters. And you can sit there and think we're not, but you've been befuddled. You've been fooled, and I'm showing you. And that's why I need to keep going with this information. And so that's why we need to look at these numbers, because the data doesn't lie. And again, you know it and I know it, because you cannot start a business. Listen, some Europeans can say they can call their nieces and nephews can call their uncles and aunts and say, let me get $50,000 a loan so I can start a business. And they're going to give it to them. And they're not even going to blink an eye, bat an eye, because they have that wealth. We don't have it. So it's tough for us. That's why we always crying broke. And a lot of us don't want to hear this, because we live in this fantasy land where we think that we're wealthy. But I'm showing us the data. And a lot of us don't even want to look at the data, brothers and sisters. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. I want to show you something else that's going to really mess you up. Ready? This messed me up, and I know it's going to mess you up. You ready for it? Watch this. How wealthy are Europeans when it comes to Africans who live in this country? Look at this. This is going to get you. Here it comes. Ready or not, here it comes. Okay, you ready? Look at this. I want to make this a little bigger, and I want to show you something. All right, here it is. This is according to the Wall Street Journal. You're in real school, beautiful people. I love you all. You all are so special. You all are so beautiful. You all are so wonderful. You all are so open. You all are so honest. You all are so attentive because you want to hear this, because I'm telling you the truth. No one's going to tell you this. Your preacher's not going to tell you this. The imam is not going to tell you this. Your family's not going to tell you this. Then let your big brother tell you this. Listen to these words I'm about to say. It would take 228 years for Black families to amass wealth of white families. Did you just hear what your big brother just said? I'm going to read that again. In fact, I'm going to take a quick drink of water and I'm going to read that again. But I'm going to slow it down now because I done gotten beside myself. I'm trying to show you we're in a bad state right now. But a lot of you think we're not, because you see people on TV that has a basketball or football, and we think that we've arrived since we see. But these people are people, and I'm not hating on them because that's fine. They made their money, they made their fame. But you see, a lot of them have turned their backs on us. And now we're fending for ourselves, and no one's telling you this. Watch this. In fact, let me throw out a quick stat. Let me throw out a real quick stat. Brothers and sisters, there are at least 724 billionaires. 724 billionaires in the United States. And about 6 to 9 of them are so-called African Americans. That is a disparity beyond, since we've been here so long. Let's go, though. It would take 228 years for Black people, families, to amass the wealth of white families. This is something that is staggering. Listen, and the thing about this is, the other families are not going to stand still while we catch them. It will take us 228 years to amass the same amount of wealth that white families have. You've got to watch this. You've got to be engaged in this. You've got to say, I am so curious. Big brother, this is beautiful. I didn't know this. And we're going to talk about application. What can we do? But let's talk about how bad it is, because I don't think we realize how bad it is. Watch this. 228 years. That's how long it would take for African Americans to accumulate the same amount of wealth that whites have. Now, if current policies remain in place, according to the new analysis from the Corporation for Enterprise Development and Institute for Policy Studies. The stunning estimate is part of a study the two groups released this week on the racial wealth divide in the United States, highlighting the growing disparity between Americans of color and everyone else. The policies that contributed to a widening divide and proposals to help reverse the trend. Your children, my children, your grandchildren, my grandchildren are up against the 8 ball, because I got so much more information I want to share with you when it comes to wealth transfer. And you're going to be surprised. In fact, you're going to say, I'm stunned, big brother, because no one has told me this. I've often heard my family say we're doing okay because we can buy little things like weave, and we can buy things like automobiles, and we can buy things like makeup, we can buy things like jewelry, we can buy little clothes. But as a group of people, 45 million of us, the majority of us, you take out the athletes, take out the entertainers, because they're in a different class and they're not even on the same level that Europeans are. We're going to get into all of this. So let's just sit back, relax, and read this and weep. It would take 228 years for Black families to amass wealth of white families. An analysis says. That's from, look, the Wall Street Journal. Now, this ought to make you say, this is blowing my mind, brothers and sisters. This is blowing my mind. It's blowing my mind, because for so long, we've been shucking and jiving, and we don't want to have these kinds of discussions. But yet, brothers and sisters, we're hit. We're losing, and it's bad. But yet, we keep thinking that because we can watch a television that shows a Black person on a commercial, or that shows a Black person singing, or that shows a black person signing a $155 million contract, we think that that's all of us. That's not all of us. That's not even a handful of us. When you look at numbers, when you look at there's 102 million white families in the United States, these are just the families alone. And you look at there's only 20 million families. That in itself is like a teeter-totter when it comes to the disparity of the wealth that they have and the wealth that we don't have when we built this country. That's why we cry for reparations, because it was unfair to treat us like that and to not give us anything. And this is why we are in the condition that we're in. And let me keep talking, because I love you so much, brothers and sisters. And you just mean so much to me. And I'm one of the only talk show guys that tells you how much you mean to me. The rest of them take your money, lie to you, tell you things you want to hear, make you feel good. But I'm telling you that you're in my heart. You're in my heart because we got a bad situation going on. And someone has to tell you this. But I'm putting it out there for the world to see. And so I'm asking you all to take heed to what your big brother is saying, because we are in a bad way. And I want you to know that this stuff that we've gone through, brothers and sisters, it's because of some things that happened to us. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that now. It's because of when we came over here. And let me clarify something now, because I don't want you to mix up this information. When I say when we, I'm not talking about Hispanics. I'm not talking about Africans who live on the continent that moved here recently, because before about 1976, it was just blacks and whites. When the Civil Rights Bill was passed, everybody flooded over here and got in front of a group of people who had been subjugated for 400 years. And now you want to call everybody black and people of color. And that's not right. Why? Because it was not people of color who were hung. It was not people of color who were assassinated. It was not people of color who were done the way we were done. We are the descendants of the enslaved. That's our lineage. So when you talk about black, you're mixing the data. So you're allowing everyone that looks like us to come over here, and they don't have the same context that we have. And so we have to separate that. So we have to begin to let people know we are descendants of those who were enslaved. We are the ones that's old. No one else. We are the ones that old. I don't care how much they look like us. And this is no slight on them. This is the facts. Brothers and sisters, don't ever allow anybody to come to your country and get in front of you in that line, and just because they look like you, you say nothing. If that person does not have a person who was enslaved, why would you do it? Because we're so stuck on black. And I got to do a broadcast about that to break that down, to let you know you can call yourself black all you want to, but it was the descendants. It was the enslaved who were done wrong, see? No one else was here. So let me get off that soapbox. And let me tell you something. Because there were some things that were owed to us. After slavery was over, in 1865, we were promised 40 acres and a mule. We never got it. Why? Because of the way we were treated. Because of the way we were oppressed. Because of the way tyranny had reached us. We didn't get it. And in 1865, when President Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, the new president that came in was a guy by the name of Andrew Johnson. Please listen to me. Andrew Johnson came in. And Andrew Johnson, instead of taking the land from those in the South, the whites in the South that did us that way, he gave them back all of the land that we fought for and won. And they began to start up with different context groups to do things to us. And this is why we are in the condition that we're in. You can't tell me that we as a people have not been done worse than any other people on the face of this earth for 400 years. Yes, people have been done wrong. Yes, people have been abused. But we have been abused for 400 years and counting, and our wealth is a result of that. 400 years of slavery, free labor, brothers and sisters. That's why we cry reparation, because it's owed to us. How ignorant can you and I be to let people do our ancestors like that and say that they don't owe us anything? You are out of your cotton picking mind. Why? That's why the wealth gap is so broad, you see. And that's the only way that the wealth gap is going to be closed. I hope I'm making some kind of sense. And I apologize again for the comments not being showed. We were trying to get the people that I'm working with to help us, but apparently they're tripping. But let's keep talking, because I know you guys are commenting. But let's keep talking. 400 years of slavery, free labor, and we never got paid for it. And today, those people who are the descendants of those who enslaved us are living off of the wealth that our ancestors amassed for them. And you're talking about that's a handout? You've got to be sick. You've got to be retarded. And I don't mean that to put anybody down that's dealing with mental issues, but you've got to be retarded to let someone treat us this way for 400 years. And then you say that we don't deserve anything when the wealth gap is the reason that we are the way we are now. Jim Crow, unjust laws kept us poor. 1865, these separating laws where they separate us and they gave them all of the good things. And when people moved over here from Europe, they gave them land. You know, they gave them land grants. You see, they gave them all, they gave it to them, and they never called it a handout. But because of how ignorant many of us are, we are owed that, brothers and sisters. Black Codes, 1865 in the South, where they put together a string of laws that messed us up to where we couldn't do hardly anything. Convict leasing, 1876. These are peonage laws where if you were black, if you were a descendant of the enslaved and you didn't have a job, which many of us didn't, they could pick you up, put you in jail, and lease you out to a company that would make you work on the railroads or do other tasks until you died, put you in coal and mines, brothers and sisters. Put us in these mines. And they would take the income and pay it to the government. And this was called convict leasing. There's a book called Slavery by Another Name. You've got to look at that. And it chronicles what I'm trying to tell you now. See, all this happened to us. It didn't happen to Mexicans. It didn't happen to Africans who came over here from different countries that's here today. It didn't happen to any of the Caribbean island people that came over here. It didn't happen to the Koreans. It didn't happen to the Asians. It happened to the descendants of those who are enslaved. And damn it, if you can't sit down and listen to this basic stuff to let you know we are in a bad way, something is wrong with us. And this is why numbers are dropping off. We are in the belly of the beast, and most of us are so messed up psychologically, we can't even listen to what your big brother is saying. Laws that kept us poor, 1896, Plessy versus Ferguson. Redlining, 1934, where basically the banks wouldn't loan us money. They created the ghettos. They still don't loan us money the way they should, but they wouldn't loan us money, and that kept us all concentrated in a certain area. This is why you had slums. This is why we had ghettos. This is why we still have them today. And then on top of all of that, they allowed racist white supremacist groups, white national murderers, white terrorists like the Ku Klux Klan, brothers and sisters, to run rampant on us. They allowed the White Citizens Council to do us in, brothers and sisters. And most of us aren't looking at this lesson historically to see this is why we are in the condition that we are in right now. And all of these groups, they brutalized us. They beat us. They maimed us. They hung us. And we all along, we couldn't get involved in the economic boom that was going on. And so we had to fend for ourselves with the crumbs that we were getting. And you're going to sit here and tell me that you have not seen a broadcast like this, or you're not aware of this, and you don't want to hear this? You're dropping off numbers wise because you don't want to hear the truth of why your children are in the condition they're in, and you want to sit back and not even look at this to say they have done us a number, brothers and sisters. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. They've done us a number. And all I'm doing is exposing it. That's all I'm doing is exposing this stuff today. See, Supreme Court judges who stacked the books and made sure that we didn't get ahead. Banks stacked the books, made sure we didn't get ahead. Many white people made sure we didn't get ahead. And when we did get ahead, the little few times we did, in 1921, Tulsa, Oklahoma, booming banks, booming, a thriving community. What did they do to us? They dropped a bomb on us in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Every time the Black community thrived, they came back and did something to us to make sure that we did not get on the same footing that they were on. And if we've been here since 1619 or before that, if we've been here since then, and they declared their independence in 1776 till now, why do we have such a huge wealth gap? I'm telling you why. I'm telling you why. Brothers and sisters, and if you don't believe me, I'm about to show you one more chart before I get out of here. And this chart is going to really make you think. I have to show you this. Now listen to this. This is very important. Watch what we're about to do. Okay, ready? All right. I'm going to show you this here. And I want you to look at this. And I want you to just really think about this, what this is about to tell us. Baby boomers. Those are the people that were born from 1946 to 1964. Baby boomers are going to hand down $68 trillion worth of wealth in the great wealth transfer. There has never been a transfer in the United States as big as this one. This is the biggest wealth transfer in history. In other words, when people pass away, beautiful people, those who pass away who were born in 1946 up to now, they're going to leave $68 trillion worth of wealth to their kids, you see. And this is why a lot of us are so ignorant. And listen, I don't mean this to put anybody down. It just means we don't know, because we're not interested in these kinds of discussions. What I'm trying to say is this: your children and my children are not a part of this. For the most part, that's not us, brothers and sisters. So what I'm saying is, everybody's trying to think of a quick way to get rich, or who's going to become the next Mark Zuckerberg, or who's going to become the next person that's going to start something fantastic. I'm telling you now, that's long gone. The Industrial Revolution is over with. There are listen, the way people get rich now, and I have to say this, the way people are getting rich now is when their parents leave this earth, they're leaving them a great wealth transfer. Next week, if you come back and listen to this, I want to give you statistics on millionaires, how many millionaires there are, how many billionaires there are in the United States. I want to show you that we basically don't have much of anything. And in order to be in the top, in order to be in the top 95%, or I should say 1%, of those of us that are African-American descendants of the enslaved, listen to this, you need $395,000 to be in that top class. We don't have it. But I want to show you some staggering statistics that's going to show you that there are more millionaires now than ever before. There are more white millionaires than ever before. Yes, there are some black ones, but when I show you the data, you cannot even count these entertainers. You can put them in an auditorium, and you're going to see that the majority of our people are poor, landless. We don't have, and it's not because we don't want to work. It's not because we're lazy and shiftless. It's not because we're blowing our wealth. We don't have it. I hope I'm making sense. Listen, baby boomers, and it's happening now. When that white parent dies, and before they die, listen, when a white man or a white woman goes to college and they graduate, their parents are buying them homes. Their parents are buying them brand new cars. Their parents are doing so much for them. When we graduate from college, if we even do it, we can't get anything but a piece of bubble gum because we don't have it. And the politics that was supposed to have been done a long time ago, they weren't done. And so we rather watch somebody with a microphone croon and sing. We rather watch somebody in a movie make us cry. We rather watch somebody hit a ball and catch a ball and think that we've arrived. We are not even in this $68 trillion worth of great wealth transfer. This ought to make you sober up. This ought to make you say, I'm going to start watching Adults Only more often, because this is what I need to listen to. I need to look at where we are today and what we have to do. I have to do that because I'm not hearing this. I'm hearing that we have money. And people keep saying we spend too much money on weave. Yes, we do. We spend too much money on clothes. Yes, we do. We spend too much money on entertainment. Yes, we do. We spend too much money on this and that, the other. And yes, we do. We can never spend the money that other people have. You watch a football, basketball, baseball, a professional game, and you look at the people in the stands. That ought to let you know. Just look at the people in the stands. The majority of the people in the stands, they don't look like us. Because they can afford to go to these games. They can afford to buy these season tickets, and they still have money. I'm going to show you a gap that's going to really just make you say, my goodness, man, it's worse than I ever thought, because nobody's telling you this. Because we're so enthralled with these people we see in Hollywood, these black actors and actresses. We're so excited about black people who can stand on the stage and sing and make us feel good, when based upon what I'm showing you now, we and our children and our children's children, they are in trouble. And so that's why I speak this way with passion, because of the love I have for you, brothers and sisters. Let me show you one more thing before I get out of here. Please give me the time. Don't turn me off. Please listen to this. This is some vital information. Let me show you something, brothers and sisters. This will be the last chart I show you, but I have to show you this because this is what I said I was going to do next week, but I'll do it now because my time is fleeting. But I want you to see this last chart, and we'll talk a little bit, then I'll get out of here. But I want you to see this chart. And this here is another chart that should really make you and I say, wow. Okay, you ready? Here it is. Please look at this. Did you not know, this is in 2022, that the top landowners in the United States of America, the top 5 landowners, people that own land, farms, that area, they have more land than all of us so-called African Americans put together. Oh, this is a staggering number. This is a sobering message. I want to read this to you. The 2022 top land owners. These are people that own land. In the land report, the top 5 has more land than all of the 45 million African Americans who live in the United States. Now tell me you're not falling off your seat. The Emerson family, 2.33 million of acres of land. How many acres do you own? How many acres do I own? John Malone, the Malone family, 2.2 million acres of land. The Reed family, 2.1 million acres of land. Ted Turner, 2 million acres of land. That's a lot of land. And the Kroenke, Stan Kroenke and his family, 1.627 million of acres of land. This ought to be something that you say, oh my goodness, this is staggering. So I don't fault you, like many blacks who come down on us, who say we are lazy, who say we are shiftless, who say we don't want to work, who say we squander our money. We don't have it. And if someone in your family does, that's fine if they have a little chump change. But in comparison to what the other group has, we do not have it, brothers and sisters. I'm sure I've shown you that today. I've shown you that today. So, brothers and sisters, the question still remains, why are we broke as a group and have less wealth than other groups living in the United States? Let me show you this real quick, because I was gonna invite someone. I think I have about 10 minutes. I'm gonna try to invite someone real quick, but I just want to show you something real fast if I can. So I want to go to their email, see if I can get them on. Oh man, I think I'm messing up now, but I hope you can still hear me. But I'm trying to get someone on here if I can get them on. So I'm gonna send them this, and let's see if they get that. Okay, now let's go back here. Hopefully I'm still on here. Hopefully I didn't mess up. So let's see what we got. So we'll go here. Okay. All right, listen. Why are we broke as a group of people and have less wealth than other groups living in the United States? It's not because you're lazy. It's not because we're shiftless. It's not because we don't want to work. It's because the wealth that our ancestors amassed, it didn't go to us. It went to other groups. And this was what I want to show you real quick. And I want to get back on this. Maybe next week I want to show you something. And this is what's really sobering. You have to look at this. Look at this. And I want to mention this real quick. Look at this. The other groups that came over here, Hispanics and others, they have just about or more than we have. And we've been here longer than they've been here. That's what's blowing my mind. We've been here longer than any other group of people, and we don't have anything. And you faulting me. You faulting our people, the descendants of the enslaved, not black. See, we got to straighten that out. Not black. We've got to do a broadcast on that concept, because that's what's gotten us in a lot of trouble. Because people come over here who look like us, and they don't have the same narrative that we have. That's why they left where they came from. And that's fine. But don't get it twisted, you see. And because we're so ignorant, we say because they look like us, they're experiencing the very same thing we're experiencing. No, they are not. No one has experienced what we've experienced in this country. And so that's why we have to make a distinction to the descendants of the enslaved. Those are the 40-something million of us, brothers and sisters. And this is why I wanted you to see this tonight. This is why I wanted to come to you tonight. This is why I want to talk to you about the importance of the wealth gap. This is why I don't have many people that watch this broadcast. This is why a lot of us don't want to hear these things, because a lot of us have our head in the sand. Everybody and their mama should have been in on this. This thing should be shared 1,000,000 times. But no, people don't want to look at this because they don't want to look at the data. Check me out. Every first and third Saturday on the Ja and Kev show. It's a YouTube channel, and it's on YouTube. It's called the Ja and Kev show. Subscribe to us, brothers and sisters. We also talk about hard-hitting issues as well. We're going to be talking about the first Saturday of next month. We're going to be talking about leadership, and you're not going to like it. But a lot of us have been led astray by those who have been led astray. How can you teach a group of people who have been led astray? See, these are the discussions that you and your children should be having, that I should be having, that we should be having. And so, brothers and sisters, I may show you some more of these charts, but I hope that you leave this broadcast saying, man, I didn't know that. Man, I didn't know that. We are old. That's why we fight for reparations. It's not fair. There's no other thing that's going to close the wealth gap. And I want to do a broadcast about, we say if you go to college, it's going to close the gap. That's not going to do it. We say if we have more doctors and lawyers, it's going to close the wealth gap. That's not going to do it. We say that if we have more professional people, that's going to do it. That's not going to do it. no matter what you come up with, no matter what I come up with, that's not going to close the wealth gap. It would take 228 years for us to close the wealth gap unless we get reparative justice. And that's what's going to make the playing field somewhat better for us. Why? Because now we have the finances, we have the wealth that we need, that we can invest in stocks, we can invest in bonds, we can buy land, we can own businesses, we can do what we need to do. Because the businesses that we have now, for the most part, you have a business that's Black, but yet, or African American, but that only hire 1 or 2 people, and those are the people in their families. It's not their fault. They don't have it. I hope this session has been a session, brothers and sisters, that you say, man, this was really good. This was really good. Support Adults Only. Support Adults Only. There's Cash App. Big Brother Jahi. I have equipment that you see. I'm still trying to get it together, but I pay for this equipment every month. Support me. Cash App. Big Brother Jahi. Brothers and sisters, please don't allow anyone to treat you that way. Know what's going on. Love yourself. Remember your ancestors. That's what it's all about, brothers and sisters. Because a lot of us don't realize their value. We don't even want to watch these kind of broadcasts because a lot of us are so far gone as a people. We're done. And here I am pouring out my soul to let us know, brothers and sisters, that we're going to have to do the best we can. Because the deck has been stacked against us. I'm showing you these stats tonight because these stats are crucial to letting us know why we are in the condition that we are in. And we are in a bad state. And it lets me know that even with those who don't want to watch this, you see your children, your children's children having to deal with the wealth inequality. And you don't have enough decency to watch what's really going on and for someone to tell you the truth. So tonight, brothers and sisters, as you listen to my closing, I just want you to know that this is Adults Only. I am your big brother, Jahi, and you all mean so much to me. And I just want you to continue to look at this data. And then there are going to be some challenges that I will propose to all of us. Application that we as a people, although we don't have much, we can do some things to help each other because we do need help. Again, I'm going to be redundant. If you don't think so, call your brother, call your sister, and ask them to loan you $200,000 to start a business. You can't do it because they don't have it. Other people have it. Other people do it. They take advantage of us. Once again, you are watching Adults Only. I am your big brother, Jahi, and I'm signing off by saying Shem Hotep. Shem M Hotep. I want you to go in peace now and enjoy, excuse me, the rest of your day. Tune in next Wednesday for part 2. We can't stop now because there's too much going on. You've been listening to Adults Only. And once again, I am your big brother, Jahi.